What's up, guys? My name's Brandon, and welcome back to Apple Weekly. In this episode, we're going to discuss even more iOS 18.1 features and changes. We're going to discuss why the new iPad mini is more important than it seems, an update on Apple's AR glasses, a crazy AirTag story, and much more. And as always, if you want to stay updated with everything going on in the world of Apple, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Okay, so before we talk about iOS 18.1 and some of the additional new features and changes, along with when to expect the final release, let's talk about Apple's mini announcement this week, because we did get a new product announcement from Apple via press release, and this is the new iPad mini. So this has the same 8.3-inch liquid retina display as before, so no 120 Hz, no OLED display, just as expected. But this one is considered the iPad mini A17 Pro, so it's not considered the 7th generation, which is quite interesting, but it does support Apple Intelligence, and it does have 8 gigabytes of RAM. It does also support the Apple Pencil Pro and the USB-C Apple Pencil, so the Apple Pencil Pro, or the Apple Pencil 2 rather, is no longer supported, so you will need to upgrade if you only had that Apple Pencil. And the best part of all is that it starts at the same $499 price tag, but we now have 128 gigabytes as the starting storage option. No more 64 gigs here in 2024, which is great to see. And this does release on Wednesday, October 23rd. And this refresh might seem kind of minor on the surface, but it's actually a pretty significant update over the previous generation iPad mini. So we have double the RAM and double the storage. We have Apple Intelligence support. We have Apple Pencil Pro support and all the features that come with the Apple Pencil Pro. We have Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.3, a faster USB-C port for faster transfer speeds, and of course we do have Apple Intelligence support as well, which is pretty big for the iPad mini, especially since it's not something that's going to get updated, every year or two. It's probably going to be at least 3 years in between refreshes for the iPad mini moving forward. Oh, and the most important thing about this new iPad mini is that it might fix the jelly scroll issue. We don't know for sure until we actually get our hands on it, but we might see a fix for the big jelly scroll issue that a lot of people had complaints about back in 2021. Now, after Apple announced the new iPad mini via a press release, I had a lot of questions of people asking me, does this mean there's no October event anymore? And the reality is nobody knows for sure. Mark Gurman was the one who initially said we are going to see an event, but in his latest Power On newsletter update, he didn't say anything about an event. However, I do think that a Mac event is still possible for the end of October. Now, if that's going to happen, we will have to see invites like early next week, like on Monday maybe, or Tuesday, and then we should see, that event. It's probably going to be a very short event, and it's going to focus specifically on the M4 Max, which we are expecting multiple new M4 Max. So we'll have to wait and see, and hopefully we do see those event invites go out early next week. And of course, I will be live streaming that event if it does actually happen here on the channel. We can expect also those M4 Max to be released on November 1st, according to Mark Gurman. Anyways, we'll touch on some more news here in a moment, but let's first talk about iOS 18.1 and some additional new features and changes found in the software. So this week we did see the release of iOS 18.1 Beta 7, and I did not make a video on the channel because there was really nothing noteworthy to discuss in that update. This is kind of something new that I'm trying here on the channel based on your guys' feedback. I don't want to make videos just for the sake of making videos with just regurgitating information that I already shared, last week. I don't want to keep repeating myself in these videos if there's nothing new to discuss. So that's the main reason I didn't record a video for Beta 7. If you guys still want me to make a video, even though there's absolutely nothing new, then let me know in the comments, but I just don't want to waste your time repeating the same information over and over. So in Beta 7, there was nothing new. The only thing that I saw circulating that people thought was new was related to the clock widget. So if we go up here to add a widget and add the city digital clock widget right here, if we go ahead and add that to our home screen, and then we go ahead into edit and go to customize and have tinted icons, you can see that, let me go ahead and change this to like yellow so you can see this better. You can see that we have a more translucent clock here. So it looks a little bit more transparent than it did in prior versions. And that was not new in Beta 7. That was there in Beta 6 as well, but that is something I did want to point out. And for those asking, why would you have a clock widget on your home screen when the clock is right above it? It's just for aesthetics. It's not actually meant for, just seeing the time. Unless you have, like I have Cupertino time right here. If you want to see another time zone, that can be useful for that as well. But that was not something I covered in previous videos. So I did want to go ahead and address the clock widget right there. Now, also we have some changes inside of our settings. So if we head into our settings and tap on our name up top here, and then if you go into the sign in and security page, we have multiple changes in here. So before on this screen right here where it says email and phone numbers, we just had an edit button up here in the top right hand corner, and that was it. But now in 18.1 as of beta 6, and we also see this in beta 7, you can see that we now have individual arrows where we can go into those individual emails or phone numbers. So that's new. And then also at the bottom, it says add email or phone number. Before, it did not say that. And the big reason for that is because we can now set an alias email as our primary email. So once you go into one of those emails or one of those phone numbers, you have a toggle to set that as the primary email. So this is good news for those with multiple email accounts. And if we look further down on that page, we do have a few other changes as well. So where it shows change password and two-factor authentication, before there was nothing above that, but now with 18.1, it shows security. So it now shows security and then change password and two-factor authentication. Also beneath that, we have recovery method. So a new title there, and recovery contacts and recovery key are together. Whereas before we just had account recovery and it just had set up and you had to go into there to see these options. And then down at the bottom, we had automatic verification, which was for the CAPTCHAs where you can bypass CAPTCHAs. That was just a kill switch right there. But now in 18.1, as of beta 6 again, and then beta 7 as well, we have an automatic verification menu. So it's a full menu and it does say on right there instead of being a kill switch. And when you go into that, you get this new interface here with a new glyph, and we do have the kill switch for automatic verification right there. So multiple changes in this section in your iCloud settings. Not actually iCloud settings, but it's in your Apple account settings when you go to sign in and security. Now we also got some fresh information about the ChatGPT support. So as you guys know, when you tap to Siri right here, in future versions of iOS, we will be able to, have different queries go to ChatGPT if Siri cannot answer them. And we just saw new code being referenced in the back end to the ChatGPT integration coming to the iPhone. So this was found by MacRumors, and it appears that ChatGPT support is coming very soon, likely with iOS 18.2. And they also found code snippets for visual intelligence, which is the iPhone 16 exclusive feature where you press on the camera control and you point your phone, at a business or at a bike or whatever, and it will give you more information about what your camera sees. So hopefully we see those in 18.2 beta 1, which will hopefully be coming out at the end of this month. Also this week, MacRumors uncovered some backend code relating to car keys in the Apple Wallet application. So it looks like some Volvo, Polestar, and Audi vehicles are going to soon support digital car keys in the Apple Wallet application. And we also heard from the Apple Pay and Apple Wallet chief, Jennifer Bailey, that these car keys in the wallet application are going to be available for rentals in the future. Also this week, we saw Klarna officially announce their support for Apple Pay on iOS 18. So if you go to checkout online using Apple Pay, you can see here I have a $95 purchase. And if you go to other cards and pay later options, if you go over to that, you will see that under additional pay later options, we now have Klarna available as an option. And once you tap on set up, this is the page you will see where it says you can pay over time with Klarna. And basically Klarna will offer an interest-free pay in 4 payment plan for purchases totaling between $35 and $2,000, which is similar to what the now defunct Apple Pay Later did. So I'm assuming Apple is doing this because Apple Pay Later is no longer an option. Also this week, Apple announced that next year, customers in the US will be able to see their PayPal balance when using their PayPal debit card in the Apple Wallet. Apple also announced this week, man, this was the week of Apple announcements. They also announced an update to their Business Connect feature for businesses. So now you're going to be, allowed to, if you have a company, you're going to be allowed to display your logo in the mail and phone applications, and also to the tap to pay interface. It will show your logo right up there, which is really nice. So businesses can sign up for branded mail today, the mail feature, and the logos will appear to customers later this year, as Apple says. So that's inferring that we will see those features in iOS 18.2, which is expected in December. But as for the phone feature, where you can see the Walgreens phone right there, like the logo and everything. That's expected to come later. So hopefully that comes at some point next year. Now, as far as the performance and battery life goes on iOS 18.1 beta 7, again, we do have an A at the end of the build number for beta 7, but we had that for beta 6 as well. And it kind of shows with the performance. The performance is pretty much the same as it was in beta 6 for me. And if I go ahead and look at my Geekbench score here, we scored a 3474 on the single core and an 8640 on the multi-core. And if we compare that to 18.1 at beta 6, it was pretty similar. We got a 3479 and an 8631. So very, very close, slightly lower on the single core and slightly higher on the multi-core, but really not a difference at all. Now, as far as the battery life goes, battery life is solid. I've seen a lot of people complain about battery drain, but for me, battery life has been great on 18.1 beta 6 and also here on beta 7. Really not a big jump in battery life. You can see my last 24 hours here along with my last 10 days. So not a huge difference going from beta 6 to beta 7, but yeah, battery life for me has been fine. If you have any type of battery drain issues, especially if you see that home and lock screen is in your like top 2, then let me know in a comment down below, because I'm always curious to see how battery life is for you guys. It's always going to be different no matter what for every single person. Okay, so now let's talk about what to expect next from Apple. So next up is going to be iOS 18.1 RC, the release candidate build, which is essentially the final release for beta testers. So we should see that early next week, most likely on Monday or Tuesday, the 21st or the 22nd. And hopefully we do see the event invites go out for an October event. Hopefully that actually happens. Hopefully we see that around the same time, if not a little bit earlier in the day. Now, as far as the final release for iOS 18.1, according to Mark Gurman, we're going to see that on Monday, October 28th, which as of now, that does line up with everything. So we should be seeing that on Monday, the 28th. And then for those wondering if we're going to see 18.2 beta 1, it's hard to say. We should see it that same week, but Apple is tricky. You really never know what to expect from them, but I would expect them to get that out before Election Day on the 5th. So I would expect to see that the same week as the final release of 18.1, and that will include a lot of great new features as well. Okay, so now let's move on to some more Apple news. So let's start with Apple's AR glasses plan and what we can expect for the future of the Vision Pro. So Mark Gurman over at Bloomberg is reporting that Apple could launch some smart AR glasses in or around 2027. Now, he did not provide any additional details whatsoever, but he did mention that Apple is in the testing phase of this. It's just in the early stages of AR glasses. So nothing is confirmed yet, but we're hearing that those could launch around 2027, which the Meta Ray-Bans right now are crushing it. So many people that aren't even into technology love those things. So I'm really hoping Apple nails it with this, and I hope it comes within the next 5 years. And he also mentions that along with the AR glasses, Apple could launch AirPods with cameras. So these devices will be able to analyze their surroundings and provide relevant information to users, similar to what we'll be seeing with the visual intelligence feature on the iPhone 16. Now, along with the AR glasses and the AirPods with cameras, Apple is also planning a lower cost version of the Vision Pro headset. So this could be called Vision Air or just Apple Vision, is what we're hearing. So it's not going to be the Pro version. It's just going to be a lower cost version. And this is said to cost around $2,000. So unfortunately, not in the $1,000 range, it doesn't seem like, but that is expected to come pretty soon, actually, sooner than we thought. So it could come as early as next year, according to Mark Gurman. Meanwhile, he does mention that the second generation Vision Pro is expected in 2026, and this is going to get an upgraded chip and other hardware changes. So what do you guys think about a $2,000 Apple Vision or a Vision Air, whatever Apple ends up calling it? Do you think that's going to be a low enough price point for Apple to sell a lot of these, or what do you think? I mean, I'm kind of conflicted here. I think $2,000 is still too much for the average consumer for this headset, so it's going to be really interesting to see. I just hope that Apple's AR glasses can be under $1,000. Like, that's going to be key in my opinion, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen, at least for the first generation. But something that's coming within the next 2 years that we know for sure is the iPhone 18, and we're now hearing some new information about the iPhone 18 and that A20 chip, or whatever Apple ends up calling it. It looks like the A20 chip will be built on TSMC's next generation 2 nanometer fabrication process. So this can be huge, and it looks like it will also have 12 gigabytes of RAM instead of 8. And this news comes from phone chip expert on Weibo. So he mentioned that the iPhone 18 models are going to switch from the integrated fan-out packaging to wafer-level multi-chip module packaging. And then finally, just as tradition, we have another crazy AirTag story. So this time, neighbors in Michigan noticed that political signs were getting stolen out of their yard continuously. As a matter of fact, 72 political signs were stolen from people's properties. And apparently one of the neighbors was fed up because they somehow hid an AirTag inside of one of those signs. So of course they called police and relayed the location to the police, who ended up going to the wrong house at first. Yes, police knocked on the door and ended up searching the house after obtaining a warrant because the AirTag said the stolen signs were inside. So they searched the entire house for hours, and the owners of the home explained how it felt very invasive because police had video of the suspect and his car, which didn't match these innocent people who were getting their house just searched all the way through. Anyways, it turns out that those 72 stolen signs were directly next door. So a 27-year-old was arrested and charged with larceny and concealing stolen property. So that is crazy, and I feel bad for the innocent people because the police were really saying, yes, you do have it. We have location here. Like, they were just telling them that they were the ones who stole it, even though they were not. Police should have used the precision finding feature. That way they could actually locate the AirTag itself, like with a, in proximity view, and not just relying on the big map, which can be pretty inaccurate at times. And that's good for you guys to remember as well. Like, be sure if you're going to confront somebody, be absolutely sure that it is them with the, stolen property with your AirTag. Use precision finding so you can be sure. Anyways, that's it for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Also be sure to subscribe for more, and I'll see you next week.